Our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage from New Orleans is brought to you in part by Flight by Yuengling, Circa Las Vegas, Smokey Mo's Barbecue, SynergenX Testosterone and Weight Loss, and Southern Recipe Pork Rinds on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star. Joe Reinagle.
That's the third time in 7 seasons. The San Antonio Spurs are the NBA champions.
Jason Minix.
They go back to big day as Super Bowl champions. Dallas 52, Buffalo 17.
It's the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Reinagle. I'm Jason Minix as we continue with our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage from New Orleans with super agent Leigh Steinberg joining us. Leigh, how you doing, man? Hang on one second.
I remember that 52-17 game at the Rose Bowl, and it wouldn't have been 17 if Leon had not got the ball knocked out.
Leon let Don Beebe knocking the ball out of. I know, and you know it's been so long for the Cowboys to get one. We just have to continually go back. Forever and ever and ever, right? Damn near 30 years.
Hard to remember that they won 3 in 4 years.
I know it.
When you put in a VHS tape. You know, I mean, well, look, you had Troy Aikman. You've had all the great quarterbacks. And maybe what we need to do, because, you know, with Patrick Mahomes, he's with Kansas City, but we need you to find another quarterback for the Cowboys.
I'm not sure Dak Prescott would appreciate that.
I mean, look, I like Dak. I mean, but at some point, he's got to win one.
Quarterback greatness is defined as the ability to take a team to and win the Super Bowl. And that's where the legacy comes. That's why Troy Aikman, for example, his average stats for a game would be like 17 for 23 for 210 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he's in the Hall of Fame. And the reason is because he wasn't dazzling statistically, but they won. And it was a team effort. So, yes, ultimately. But I know nobody's more frustrated than Jerry. And my experience with him is he would do anything to win.
Yeah, I think so. And he's even told us that many times, that he'd write a check as big as he had to write it to get a Super Bowl win. When you look at the game today, though, you're talking about the Cowboys of the 90s, but the game today has changed so much. The players have to be different, and quarterbacks in particular, they've got to be mobile. It's more of a college system. You take that into consideration when you have a player you're representing and marketing them to a team.
I think the critical factor, every team that does not have a franchise quarterback wants one. And let's define that as someone you can win and build around because of for 10 to 12 years, but someone who most importantly in adversity, in critical moments, players throwing a couple interceptions, the crowd is booing, the center's looking at the quarterback like he's on hallucinogens. What does he do now? Can he compartmentalize, adopt a quiet mind, and elevate his level of play in those critical circumstances to take a team to victory? And that's the critical factor that you look for, because there will be adversity. I mean, the Chiefs this season are a perfect example of that. And at that last moment, when it's needed, they win.
What is it about Kansas City in one-score games?
I think they try really hard, but, you know, when you win that much, it's probably difficult to totally put a team away. And plus, they were work in progress throughout the season. They didn't have wide receivers. They got them back later. It's a different Chief team today than it was in Week 7.
Leigh, I've got to ask you, because you're the man to ask. And we look at the salaries in the NFL today, and quarterbacks in particular, we'll stick with that. And it just goes up, and the next guy gets more than the next guy. So he's just next. It's what Jason's famous for saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I want to ask you, is that how you look at it? Say a Dak Prescott needs a new contract. Does he have to get more than, say, Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes?
Well, you distinguish the players. So let's say you're negotiating and Dak's contract's on the board. What you say is, my players made the Pro Bowl or gone to the playoffs. You try to find some mark of distinction that makes your client more valuable than Dak, and you use his numbers to negotiate the new contract. Just remember this. They're spending money they have, not that they don't have. In other words, TV contracts have soared to an unbelievable level, and it's really television revenue and the loss leader bidding nature of it, trying to build value for the bottom line of the network. And so in the midst of a cratered economy, a pandemic, CBS and Fox virtually doubled what they bid on the rights fees. And so you're going to have the same team that made $2 million when I started back in 1975 from national TV per season will soon make $300 million. So they have the money, and there's a revenue split. Remember, it's 53% for teams and 47% for players. They can only spend money that's coming in. So it's not as if there are any economic problems.
Leigh Steinberg joining us here on the Blitz. I know you don't represent Micah Parsons, so we can talk about him. Micah Parsons has said more than once that he will take less money. He doesn't have to be the highest paid guy, doesn't have to be the top guy, because he wants to make sure Jerry's got enough money to get some good teammates around him. This week he said that he would take far less. I don't know what far is, but if they to go get Myles Garrett. As an agent, when you hear a player say they will take less money, do you just start screaming at the television?
No, because you have to understand what each player's value system is. So it could be short-term economic gain. It could be long-term economic security. It could be winning. It could be getting to a Super Bowl. It could be profile. So you have to individually take each player's concept. Micah Parsons knows that were Dallas to make it to the Super Bowl, he would turn from a very good football player into a household name. So that you're individually representing a player for their point of view. And we're talking about less money when players say that. It's extraordinary money within everybody else's point of view. I mean, when Tom Brady used to take, quote, less money, yeah, he was only making $35 million a year.
Only 35.
He had a hard time paying the bills, I'm
Right.
sure. Yeah, no doubt. You mentioned the NFL with the TV contracts, Leigh, and now they're going to play all over the world. Australia now, I guess Ireland they're going to go to as well next season. They're trying to expand their footprint, obviously, all over the world. The NFL's a monster, isn't it? And it just keeps growing.
So I want you to think about this. Not only is it the most popular sport, when 60 or 70 of the top rated 100 Nielsen shows are nighttime football, it's the most popular form of televised entertainment in the country, which never happened. We are in the midst of a massive pro football craze where it dominates the American landscape. And after that's college football. And so it's the once a week nature of it. It's the fact it has physical contact. It's the fact that it grew up along with television technology, so it's perfectly televised. It's a whole bunch of reasons, but we're football crazy. It has the same power now that soccer does in most countries.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Leigh, I think about your career as an agent. What have you negotiated? Over $4 billion worth of contracts, and now you get college kids with the NIL. How differently do you approach a college athlete versus an NFL athlete?
So NIL has changed everything, and it's the law of unintended consequences. What they were trying to do was get a few players who came from disadvantaged backgrounds a little more money because they couldn't work during the school year like their non-athletic peers. they would have been happy for $5,000 more. It gave them a little better apartment and everything like that. This system has morphed into a nightmare where there's free agency for high school players, and the certain select players are getting the benefit of business alum collectives. So when a player commits to LSU, and he's going to get X millions of dollars, and along comes a Michigan alum and says, well, we can give you $14 million. It's creating a situation where it's recruiting for hire, it's free agency. The transfer portal means that the whole concept of being able to root for a football player for 3 or 4 years at a college gone, because they're going to switch, the quarterbacks are playing musical chairs. And it means a 15-year-old is going to ask me to help him brand and do NILs. And I'm sorry, I'm not set up to, our practice about role modeling, making a difference, it requires reasonably sophisticated, mature people. They're still growing when I talk to them at 21 or 22, but it changes everything. What you're going to have is 4 conferences dominate every other conference, and it's going to be the haves and have-nots, and it's going to affect women's sports and non-revenue sports. And those 4 top conferences will get rid of the NCAA. They'll negotiate their own contracts, and it'll have a diminishing effect on the rest of college athletic funding.
How do you fix something like that? Is the government going to have to get involved, you think?
I would think at some point, if they have jurisdiction, I'm not really clear, but if they can find a way to do it, they obviously federally fund the number of colleges, but it's completely out of control, and it's happened so fast. And the confluence of gambling, conference realignment, and NIL is like an explosion in what you and I grew up with as collegiate sports or professional sports.
Leigh Steinberg, super agent, joining us here on the Blitz. Your annual Super Bowl party, now at number 38.
38.
Yeah, 38th annual Super Bowl party happening on Saturday, but you've taken the party and really turned it into something a little bit more than just like, hey, let's get together and have a good party. It's, a lot of purpose, a lot of research, and a lot of awards.
So we're doing a brain health summit where we'll talk about breakthroughs in concussion and brain health. We have 2 different panels doing that. A couple weeks ago, I founded a concussion foundation, and to raise money and awareness, to fund research, to treat at-risk people. The good news is we found a couple breakthroughs in brain health. So through the theory of neuroplasticity, there's one process called RTMS, and there's another process called neurofeedback. And you can actually reconstruct part of the physical nature of the brain, and it's going to be exciting. We're also giving humanitarian awards, and Gail Benson's getting one from the Saints, and Sean Payton from Denver, and Nate Wiggins, a player from Baltimore, and Drew Brees is getting one. We're raising money for the National Urban League, so we hope to move a family there, and we'll have we hope to move a family into the first home of our own by giving it a down payment at the party. So, and then we do the Brain Body Lounge with hyperbaric oxygen. So it's fun, but we also do some educational things, and we also do some community and charitable things.
Awesome stuff. Leigh Steinberg, super agent. Always good catching up, my friend.
Thank you. We've done this for years.
Yes.
We've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
A long time for sure.